What's going on, guys? Just want to take a break from the podcast to show you guys some of the new stuff we have back at Hostile. So we've been waiting on this stock, and we have our body bags back in stock. The body bag set, oversized tee, the oversized tee, championship oversized tee, and permabulk oversized tee are all back in stock. I know a lot of you guys were waiting for those. And then if you go to the homepage, you see our new Hostility V2, which is an awesome formula. It tastes better. It works better. And if you have not tried it, it's an all-in-one pump, focus, energy, and endurance. And the new flavor is Blue Raz. So if you get a chance, get to hostile.com, use code RBP, use code Samson's code, Sam's code, Nick's code, whoever's code you want to, and check out our new stuff. Thank you, guys. What's going on, everybody? We're back to the Real Bodybuilding Podcast. It's been a while since we did a one-on-one, but I found somebody interesting that I wanted to talk to. And here joining us is Stefan. How do you say your last name, Stefan?
Kienzl.
Kienzl. Stefan Kienzl, who is, you guys don't know this, but we don't actually talk before this whole starts. I just start. So Stefan Kienzl,
yeah, it's live.
It's pretty live, yeah. Also known on Instagram as Boss of Outlaw.
Yeah, you're right.
I wanted to have you on for a couple of reasons. I got to tell you, so me and Stefan, who those of you who don't know, we had a bet.
Yeah, I look like an idiot, and
no, I was just gonna say. No. I was gonna say, you know what? I was disappointed because you look great. I think it looks better. So
you should talk with my wife.
Yeah, let me explain to everybody what we're talking about. So those of you who don't know, me and Stefan had a bet. Was it the Arnold UK or the Arnold Columbus? Which one was it?
No, it was the
Columbus.
It was Columbus. Yeah.
So we had a bet in Columbus that we were trying to. He came by the Hostile booth before we were setting up, and we were talking about the show, and we were making predictions. And I said that James would be in the top 5, and you bet me that he wouldn't be in the top 5.
Yeah.
And the bet was that Stefan had to grow his hair out. He had a shaved head, for those of you who don't know. He had to grow his hair out for 3 months, was it?
It was 3 months. Yeah, you first said 6, and then I just rethought and said no, 6. I will look like a fucking hippie. And then we argued and came to 3 months would be fine.
So where are you now? It's been about 2 months since the Arnold, right?
Yeah, we are over halftime.
Yeah. All right.
You
so
know,
but I got to tell you, I got to tell you, your hair looks good. I don't think it looks bad. I was expecting it to look a lot worse. Yeah, like it suits you. Like it doesn't look horrible.
I don't know if that should be a compliment.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It suits you.
Anyway, it's not as bad as I thought. I feel like the punishment, it's not really a punishment. You look fine. So anyways,
yeah.
but Stefan, look, it's we don't really know each other. Our first conversation was at the Arnold Columbus. That's where I met you. Yeah. And I'm really happy to have you on because you have become kind of the talk of bodybuilding. Like you were pretty unknown for a little while. I don't think you were, I don't want to say you were unknown, but I didn't think you were as talked about in coaching circles. And I feel like when Wesley won Ohio, your name really started to come up a lot more. So is that kind of how you feel? Because I know you coach a lot of prominent pros, but I feel like the Wesley win really kind of like catapulted you up into more of a mainstream conversation.
I think, like you said, I was known a little bit in the underground scene. Had some, I would say, in the last years, some really good results. But like always in every business, you need that big clashes.
Yeah.
And the big clashes are Olympia. The big clashes is the Arnolds. And when that is combined with something nobody is awaiting, because Wesley's win, nobody did wait.
Yeah. Nobody thought it was
then that's actually a natural thing that the people start to talk more about it.
Right. So just to cover some of the other pros, I know you coach Nathan. I think you and Nathan have been together for about a year now.
Yeah, it's now more than a year. It's getting 1.5
Yes.
half years right now. It was December 22.
So Nathan is a very good pro. He's got a lot of pro wins under his belt, but I feel like
Mhm.
once he started working with you, and I don't know if this is I want to ask you your opinion about this.
Mhm.
I feel like his progress shifted and he's been getting better, but I want to know if you think that's a symptom of sometimes when an athlete meets a new coach, they have
Mhm.
a newfound motivation. Do you think it's a symptom of Nathan being motivated because he has a new coach, or do you think it's a symptom of your system works better for him, or do you think it's both?
I think it's a combination, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's the system of how I do drugs. It's not the system of
Yeah.
how I do nutrition or how I set up training, which makes the difference. I think first is the motivation of having a new coach and showing the world, especially in Nathan's case when he was when he was with two torn biceps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming back, everybody said he's done. So
Hmm.
that was one big factor. The
Hmm.
new motivation with me as a coach for sure was a big factor. And then I would say from the first chat there was harmony.
Really?
You know, we immediately found out that bodybuilding is our true passion,
Sure.
that we have the same goal, and there is a deep understanding for how I work a coach. He wanted to understand me,
Hmm.
but also I really want to get, I want to be the guy who is sitting in the head of the athlete.
What do you mean
I
by that?
want to I want to be the guy when the athlete
Oh,
goes
you
to the
mean
gym.
in his mind? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. 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 Sorry.
in his mind, what he thinks about, and um, it worked really, really good with Nathan. I think um, I don't know how the reputation of Nathan was in the States, but here in Europe it was a little bit. He's a lazy one.
Hmm.
He doesn't go with the diet, and he's more that party boy. And
Yeah.
actually, when it comes to bodybuilding, he's 100% different.
Sure.
He's
Sure.
the most dedicated guy. There is one not even one half meal he goes off the plan. He
Hmm.
does exactly what he is told about. He asks for the right questions to
Right.
understand it.
Right. Right.
So it's actually super, super easy to work with him. You just have to build up that way of trust between coach and athlete. And
Sure.
I think that was just the biggest difference, that he really understood what I want him to go, or what I want him to do, or how far he should go.
Right.
And that worked out brilliant. I think that was maybe lacking with some other corporations before,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there was too low talking.
Hmm.
But I think that was the main difference. It turned out that well because um, you always, especially me, I'm always reflecting and looking back. What are the most important things, or the most important wins, or what gave you emotionally a lot of energy?
Yeah.
But that win of Nathan in Italy, that how everything turned out when he stepped the first second on stage, that appearance he brought on stage, the passion he showed, and the love for the sport he showed that day on that stage, I think it's one of the most magical moments for
Right.
me when it comes to bodybuilding.
Right. So I think I don't, when people say bodybuilders are lazy or bodybuilders are this, I never really put a lot of stock into that because
Mm.
I don't think you can reach Nathan's level or Nathan's size or anything that Nathan's accomplished. I don't think you can do that and also be lazy. I don't think those two things are
No.
combined. But I will say that Nathan, I think, likes to play to the camera. And I think he likes to show people that, he can go out and drink and have a good time and all this. So that reputation is with him, but I think he does it kind of for fun. But I definitely never looked at him like a lazy bodybuilder. I always looked at Nathan like in the circles that I'm in. Nathan's, the way people look at Nathan is he's got such good genetics that he can get away with having some fun and still be great. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody here talk about him as being lazy. But the one thing I do want to know is you seem to be a little bit more quiet and behind the scenes. You don't seem like you're out there publicly and trying to recruit clients and these kind of things. Did Nathan come to you, or did you go to Nathan, or how did that whole relationship start?
I've never went to an athlete in my whole career.
Okay.
So they either come or they don't.
Sure.
I think with Nathan it was a little bit a double, because he had a video shoot with Urs.
Yeah.
And they were start talking, Nathan
Okay.
was still in that, I would say, halftime retirement, but
Right.
still the fire was there.
Right.
Then
Right.
Nathan is good with Jordan Peters.
Mm-hmm.
And I coached Jordan for several times.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was where I was brought to the table.
Okay.
And one day, out of nowhere, I got a message from a British number I didn't know, and he also didn't have his actual picture on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It was something different.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nathan.
That's cool. So,
and that was how it started, and you can imagine I was happy as fuck,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I would say I'm in the bodybuilding scene since 2002.
Really?
So I recognized all the great times Nathan had on stage when, starting with New York Pro and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And he was, he was and he is, for me, one of the greatest.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
and that was just like we in Austria or in Germany say it was Christmas and Easter at one day.
well, as a coach, it has to be, because I did some coaching on a amateur level for a number of years. And would you say as a coach, it's always really special when you have a guy with incredible genetics? Because regardless of whether Nathan works really hard or not, he does have incredible genetics. So as a coach, it's got to be exhilarating to find somebody that you're like, I know I can do something special with this person.
And it was so cool because I was always talking to my friends then, and he right, and what do you think? And it's so funny because they all said, okay, are you sure he's done?
Oh,
do
they were
you
like giving you
really
that?
want
Yeah.
to do that? Do you
Yeah.
think that will be a good reputation?
Right,
Will he
right.
keep your plans?
Right.
And I
right.
said, I don't care. He's one of my heroes.
Right.
When I have the chance to get him anywhere near he was, I would just love to be part of the process. And that it turned out that good was just incredible, because
Yeah.
within a short time I saw how dedicated he actually is, and how much fun he has getting back to that stage.
Right.
And everyone who has seen him live, he is really a bodybuilder who enjoys standing up there.
Yeah.
And that's actually what me, or I think also the most of the fans want to see. People up there who have fun displaying their bodies and giving a good show.
When he came to you and people were like, oh, he's half in, he's half out. And I don't know if he was or wasn't. I never saw him that way. But if you did think he was half in, half out, was there part of you that it was excited at the prospect of making him believe again? Like, did you want to work on the mental side of it too? Or when he came to you, did you already know he was all in and that wasn't like part of your decision? Like, what I'm trying to say is,
I didn't. I didn't know that he was all in. I didn't know anything about him as a person at that point. And I didn't know anything how it could turn out or go.
Right.
And I knew that because I'm coaching since 2006.
Yeah.
So quite long.
Yeah.
And I also know that open bodybuilders are special. Open bodybuilders are different than any other category.
In what way?
With open bodybuilders, I think you know that by your own. You always have that fear of I'm getting too light. I'm losing my muscle. No, I need to be fuller. Oh, I didn't have a pump today, and it's gonna be hard. And that's why I think that's the main reason a lot of bodybuilders don't hit their condition point.
Okay.
and for sure, everything else also gets a little bit heavier. You know, when you are a 130 kg guy walking through normal life, a day, or I would say 5 hours without food because you are in a traffic jam or something like that can screw up a few days.
Right, right.
So it's really a tougher process, not only for the psychological part, but also from the body part to deal with an open bodybuilder.
Sure. I think, but I just want to go back to that question for 1 second. So I just not sure I articulated it properly. I guess what I'm asking is, when Nathan called you, the prospect of coaching somebody with that physicality was exciting, but was the prospect of getting his mind right, was that also exciting for you? Like, maybe I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that actually, that's for me the biggest fun.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, you know, bodybuilding isn't that complicated. It actually isn't. Even if some people want to explain you that, it's not that difficult. To find the personal way to get those champions and those genetically incredible, gifted, perfect people to the point they deliver their maximum and absolute best. That's in reality my challenge.
I see.
And that's what I have to deliver.
Sure.
And that is also the fact which makes that job so incredibly interesting and never boring. Because you have to find ways to bring the people to their absolute best. Because I say most of them, not all of them, most of them really know how to train properly. Most of them really know how to eat properly. But you have to direct them with I would say, a long distance view. Where is the maximum and where should it go? And I always have a picture in my mind of an athlete, how he could look in perfection. And then setting goals in between and lead them most probably direct to that goals to achieve that.
Right. So I want to step away from Nathan for a minute, because I know you've worked with a lot of other people. I know you work with Urs as well. And one of the questions, like I've talked to Urs about this online, offline. One of the things I find interesting is that I've always said to people that if you want to really have a good connection with your coach, it's good to have a coach that's not your friend and somebody that you put on a pedestal, because that's where, to me, that's where the trust comes from. Like, if you're going to tell me to eat dirt, hey, you go eat that dirt and it's going to make you first place, I have to have immense trust in you. So it seems like your guys have that immense trust. How do you, for other coaches out there that are watching that maybe want to try and instill that in their clients, how did you develop that trust? Is it just because you have a good track record now? Is there something you're doing from the first conversation on that helps put these guys at ease and let them know that you can take the wheel?
The first thing, I think you are totally right. It's a little bit a track record these days.
Right.
But as I said, I'm doing that since 2005.
Right.
The second way is I'm telling people that will happen. And in 90% that happens.
In what way? What do you mean?
For example, tomorrow you go, just easy examples. Tomorrow you, for example, athlete today has 103 kg. I tell him, okay, we do now that, and tomorrow you will have 101.6.
I see.
101.6. And next day he has 101.6 or 101.8.
Yeah.
And
so
that multiple times just builds up the trust. Or when someone has an issue, I say it's because of that and that and that. And then that gets proven. I think that might work out quite well, because I have a rule in my life for me and for myself and for the things I do. You always need to be one step better than the things you do.
Explain that.
So if, for example, if I'm consulting someone in a topic, for example, let's say in a drug topic.
Sure.
Concerning steroids.
Yeah.
I need to know more than the steroids. I need to know pharmacology. I need to know physiology. I need to know everything which is behind that,
Right, right.
that I can combine, that I can find a way if something is not working out or not going as I want, because I need to react. And I think I just have the luck that I come from a different background. I studied medicine quite to the end. I was born with some diseases which made it more difficult to have a normal life.
Sure.
So I gained a lot of experience. So, you know, bodybuilding actually is one step lower than what I supposed to be, because I was supposed to become a doctor.
Right, right,
Or
right.
I was supposed to be a scientific guy. But
Yeah.
that train of bodybuilding hit me so hard
Yeah, yeah.
that I just went in.
So you're
Um,
so basically you're saying is, you know, the cascade of events from step one all the way through the chain, instead of just what most coaches, I don't want to say most coaches, but maybe newer coaches only understand the last half of the events. So
exactly.
so I understand what you're saying now. So I want to get into a little bit of your past, because I don't really know who you are. And I think a lot of people out there know you're a great coach now, but they don't know who you are. So you're from Germany. How old are you?
Austria.
You're from
So
Austria, sorry.
where Arnold comes from. So
Right.
we have
Okay.
actually,
Yeah.
I was born, I would say 50 kilometers away from Arnold,
Okay.
but I never had a bodybuilding passion. I was born into 1981, so I'm 43.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
43.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was born in a music family. Was doing music all my life,
Okay.
and ended up being a big fat alcohol drinking wannabe rock star.
Really? Wait, how, so what did you, what instrument were you playing?
I originally started with clarinet,
Okay.
but then I played bass and guitar in a black death metal band.
Okay. Okay. This is not what I expected. Okay. So how old were you when you were doing the black metal, the death metal band?
14.
14 you started.
Yeah,
So that
14.
so that was your passion. And
That was
explain
absolutely
explain
next to school and next to then later studies. So music is still a big part of my life, and it's getting my brain into clearance.
when you're away from bodybuilding, is that what you do to kind of get your mind off of things? Is that a stress reliever for you?
Yeah, music and motorsports.
Oh, motorsports too. What motorsports? Now you got my
I
you perked up my interest. Okay.
um, actually after my own bodybuilding career, which when you want to talk, I will tell you later.
Sure.
I did long distance 24-hour kart races.
No way.
I was always motorsport enthusiast until I was born. When you look behind, you see all the way there are Ayrton Senna pictures,
Yeah.
there are Kimi Räikkönen pictures, there are pictures from the Nürburgring, and I was born 20 kilometers away from the Red Bull Ring.
What's that?
It's one of the Formula One tracks.
Oh, okay.
The
I'm sorry.
Austrian Formula One tracks.
Sure, sure.
The Austrian Formula One track. And I was nearly every year there. And but my parents didn't have so much money, so I never could do motorsports. And when I got older and had a passion for it and money, I was able to do by my own. But I don't have any talent, but still I was passionate.
So okay, let's go back because we're jumping around. This is crazy. So we could do an entire podcast on just the 24-hour racing, because I find that fascinating. But okay, let's go back. So
yeah, I was super fit because I was a rock star.
So 14 years old, you start in the rock band.
Yeah.
You're doing it amazingly in school, obviously, because you want to study to be a doctor.
Yeah,
but,
I was. Yeah.
So you did, how long did you do the rock band thing for?
23, 24.
And what happened? It didn't pan out. You weren't getting gigs. You didn't see a path for it.
We produced, I think, one CD. We were having gigs, but you know, it's if you take bodybuilding, okay,
yeah,
and I would say the little part of how black and death metal was to that time to the whole music industry would be female bodybuilding class where you have to be 1 meter 43 big, and you are not more allowed to be bigger than 146.
So it's like this tiny little niche of music. Yeah. Is there somewhere I can listen to your CD? Is it online? Like,
No,
can
it
I?
was before, it was before the 2000s when we brought, so
Oh,
there
that's
is
right. That's right.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was still real
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And we played some festivals, but then our guitar player decided to have a little bit free time because he wanted to go to Morocco and enjoy the desert with some drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The drum player switched to another band. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore because I want to focus on bodybuilding.
So I have a question though. When you say rock and roll, I immediately, or not rock and roll, but death metal, I immediately think, when you think concerts and gigs, I think drugs, alcohol, and women.
Exactly. Women wasn't the case because I was too drunk.
So were drugs and alcohol, or just alcohol? Was
Just
it all
it was mostly alcohol. It
mostly
was
alcohol?
really
Yeah.
in metal, it's mostly alcohol. But the point is, I got really fat, and I studied medicine. I
When you,
started 1999 with medicine, so
Steph,
with 18.
Stefan, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
When you say really fat, what are we talking about?
I'm 179, and I had 110 kg without any muscle trained. So not super fat.
So like
but
230, 240, somewhere, 240
yeah,
pounds.
something
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
240, something like that.
But with no muscle. So you're like,
Yeah, zero.
Zero. Okay, so before we get into the racing, where does the
Yeah.
bodybuilding, when did the bodybuilding hit you?
Yeah, that's the point. I
Yeah.
was 22, and my
Yeah.
brother, he was always training,
Sure. Oh, okay.
and he bought me for Christmas a yearly membership at the gym.
Okay.
And really, I do not lie. I went the first day in the gym.
Ich spiele jetzt die Really Featuring Frau Pludak.
What the fuck is Siri saying? That's now really fun. I will pull it out.
No, it's okay. Just leave it. No big deal.
And I went to the gym, grabbed my first pile of dumbbells, and it was love.
Really? Right away?
It was right away. It was January. I had 110.
Okay, question though. Sorry, go ahead. What, you were
110? In April,
yeah,
I had 69.
Wow.
And in May, I was able to squat and deadlift 150 kg.
That quickly, eh?
It just clicked, Yeah. I have to tell you a little bit more. I'm Asperger autist.
Okay.
So I'm autistic. So I'm a little bit, let's say, different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, complex movements. For example, I tried to be a BMX rider.
Yeah.
It went out terribly because, when I walk, I fall on the floor because it's hard to get one foot for the another.
Yeah.
But weightlifting, you go there. I had the advantage of knowing anatomy really well because I was studying medicine. So I knew which muscle is for what.
Right.
And then you think, okay, that's the perfect movement to train that muscle.
Right.
And that's easy.
Right.
I know the way how to move it. It has nothing to do with, how is it in English? In German, it's Geschicklichkeit. When you have sports like skateboarding, you need to
the
fast
skill.
and
the skill.
And in bodybuilding, everything is easy.
Right.
So the second thing is you get immediately a feedback.
Yes.
You can lift it. Next time you can lift more. You progress.
Right.
You look into the mirror. You see something. And then I get obsessed. I got obsessed since the first moment in gym. I just was so obsessed, like with nothing ever before.
Really?
It was my whole day was bodybuilding from getting up until going to sleep. And I quit medicine, I would say half a year before finishing the study, because I wanted to get bodybuilder.
Right.
There was no discussion of getting pro bodybuilder, because that was back then unrealistic. You know, you would have had to win an IFBB championship in Europe to get bodybuilder. And I was not so dumb that I ever would believe that, because I just didn't have the genetic. I had passion, but I just wanted to train. And I wanted to have all day long and time to focus on bodybuilding.
Right.
My parents really loved me for that.
Were they pissed off that you quit school and everything?
I didn't talk with my father, I think 2 years.
No way.
Yeah, there was no interaction anymore, because I said, okay, I quit study and now I do that. I don't want to be a doctor. I'm just a trainer in a gym.
I know, but you have to understand. I mean, you do understand why he would be upset, right? If you're like almost finished, you're like, I don't care. But wasn't there a part of you that was like, I'm almost done, maybe I should just finish it?
No.
That was it. You were like, I'm out.
Really, it like I said before, it hit me like a train.
Really?
It hit me like a train.
Is your brother older than you?
5 years, yes.
Do you have any other siblings?
No.
Do you think, I wonder this sometimes, because I have 3 older brothers and a sister. And all my older brothers were like, when I was coming up, I considered them big. Like in our world, they're not big guys. Like they're you know, genetically thicker guys, but like
just built, yeah,
but they're not big like bodybuilder big. But when I was growing up, though, I thought they were big, and I know they used to go to the gym, so I think it was a natural progression for me to go to the gym. So I guess what I'm asking is, knowing that your brother worked out, was that part of the passion and the drive, or did that have nothing to do with it? No, you just
my brother left home when I was quite young, because he went to a 200 kilometers far away school. So when he was 14, he wasn't living at home anymore. At that age, I was 9.
Okay.
He started training out, and I just saw him at weekends. And he thought back then it would be a good idea that I do something for my body, because I really looked awful.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you didn't want to be a pro because you didn't think it was going to be realistic, but you wanted to train all day. So is that where the coaching came from? Because you're like, the reason I'm asking is
that's even more funny.
Okay. So I won't even go further with what I was going to say. How long did the bodybuilding progress before the coaching came into play?
4 years.
Okay. So now you're 26, 27. And then you decide what made you decide to start coaching?
My last year of competing was 2006.
Okay.
Because I really recognized when I push more far, that will be serious damage.
In what way? Health-wise?
Yes, because I don't feel any pain, and I just see what can go. For example, I broke my spine. I never recognized it.
What?
Yes.
Well, okay. You said something earlier in our conversation about growing up with diseases. Is this related?
Yeah. That's a little bit related, because you know, autistic people are recognized from having a different pain barrier.
Okay.
So I feel when I'm not sorrow about pain,
right,
and I actually don't feel it. I tore my quad without recognizing it, and went to squatting.
No way.
I broke when I was 11. Yeah. I broke my shoulder, tore my chest and the collarbone. I went 3 days to school.
Without knowing?
Yeah, without knowing. I was even driving with a bicycle home after the accident.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. Like how does that?
It was, yeah.
So what, okay, so what eventually told you that you had a torn chest and a broken collarbone? Yeah. Like, how did you know eventually that something was wrong if there's no pain?
Yeah, there was pain, but I said, it's not that intense and I can handle that.
Right.
And when we went to the hospital, the doctor were really upset because they thought my parents kept me at home because they did something like that.
Oh, no.
And I just said, no, I had a bicycle accident 3 days ago, and I thought it isn't that intense.
Is crazy. It's never hurt
Everything was blue and broken, and the arm was hanging. And actually, I went to hospital because I had clarinet lessons,
Right.
and I collapsed at the lesson. So there must have been some pain,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You weren't feeling it, or were
nah,
ignoring. You were ignoring it.
I was shutting it off because I broke my arm, so something like that per year, 2 or 3 times.
That's
I
so
even
crazy.
managed to break right and left at the same time.
Oh my
And I
God.
wasn't able to tell it to my parents because they were already upset because I always hurt myself.
Right. Right. So fast forward then to bodybuilding. You broke your spine bodybuilding, like in the gym? You
It
don't know.
was 10 years ago. I have 3 herniated discs in my spine.
Right.
And when they did the MRE, they recognized that I have a broken spine also.
Jesus.
It must have been broken sometime. I actually don't know when.
Okay, so what made you stop bodybuilding then? Because if you didn't feel the pain and you didn't know what.
My wife,
Yeah.
I'm together with my wife since 1999.
Okay.
And she said, "Do you really think that it is clever to go in that kind of style?"
Right.
And actually, because the last period then was I won the Austrian show in classic bodybuilding. That was a new class, and I got 14th at the World Championship. But I looked like shit because I also have colitis ulcerosa, which is an autoimmune disease.
Right.
So it was quite tough, and I really had to recognize in the competitive sport won't bring me anywhere.
Right.
And when I came home from the World Championship, I had a car accident. So I was without a car.
Right.
But I still wanted to go to training at that time. And a friend of mine picked me up every day from home, brought me to the gym and back. And then he wanted to compete. And I said, when you pick me up and drive me home every day, I'm going to help you. And that was 2007. And he was actually my first coaching client. And then it just worked out nicely, you know?
Right.
And then, you know, when something works out nicely, that's a natural role.
Right. So
it's getting more and more.
Let me ask you this. When you coached your friend there, was it the same passion that you got from lifting, seeing him progress?
And you exactly found the point. I was so in love with bodybuilding, and I was so dedicated to it that the switching to another body made me keep that love.
Right.
And it was the only possibility to let myself go.
Right.
I think that actually coaching rescued me.
Can I ask you something? This a little bit.
Sure.
It's a little bit off topic, but it just struck me. It struck me when you said that.
Yeah.
So when I retired, I had a lot of trouble. It was a really tough time for me. It was hard for me to like step away from something I'd been doing for 20 years. When I sign athletes to HOSSTILE, one of the ways, like this is why I get so excited when Samson's on stage. Or when we had Nick, or when we had any athletes that we have, right? Or like when I see Sam train, like it's almost, you know, people say, "Oh, you're living through those guys." In a way, they're not wrong. Like, because one of the things that helped me get out of the depression of being retired was being able to say to myself, I can do something to help these guys. Now, I don't do it in a coaching sense because I'm not coaching them at all, but I feel like running the company and being able to pay them and then watching them through their careers, I feel like I could get a lot of joy out of that. So I just kind of drew that parallel where
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
and really, if you ask me, do you live through them?
Yeah.
Yes.
In a way, yeah. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
I just do. I do what I love, you know?
Right.
And for me, it was that good and that intense that I swear to God, I had zero problems that my body was fading and I was starting to look like shit.
Right.
I had zero problems with that.
Right.
Because I was so driven in getting the other people's there and fulfilling their dreams, which fulfills my dreams.
I understand it. That's crazy. So from the first client there, when you realized it was a great passion in helping him, did you decide at that point, you know what, I want to be a coach? Or was it more natural where you just like started helping other friends?
You will understand, but I think a lot of our listeners can't understand because they are grown up with social media and we come from the time before.
Right.
So there was absolutely zero chance to think about having coach as a job and living from it.
Right.
Zero chance. At least in Europe, no, never. You know, America always was a little bit different with much more pros, much more pro shows.
Yep.
But in Europe, as I said before, in the IFBB, you needed to get a European overall champion or a world overall champion to get the pro card.
Right.
There was one European champion a year and one world championship a year. And that was all.
Yeah.
So there wasn't even a thought in having the possibility to coach a pro. Totally impossible.
Right.
So actually, at that time, I was working at the hospital as manager because I studied economy later. And was responsible for quality management systems in IVF clinic.
Okay.
So for artificial pregnancy.
Yep.
But then I decided to get self-employed with a therapy institute, which I still run. I still have that therapy institute, physio, massage, and all that stuff
that's awesome.
with a friend of mine. So coaching always was next to that. Okay. And actually, I did coach for free until 2013.
Okay.
So about 6 years, because I don't needed the money because I had the other business. I just loved to do it. And there wasn't that market, you know?
Yeah.
But there was another development which was quite interesting in Europe. I was at the old IFBB Amateur, where I competed. And also in 2006, after I had my last show, I got the judge. So I started judging.
Right.
Which made, for me, was big fun and also which learned me a lot.
Right.
But in 2009, there was a split up of the old IFBB into the IFBB and the WBPF. No, way more before, 10 years before.
That. Right.
Paul Duac Chua from Asia made his own federation.
Okay.
The Austrian IFBB president went to that new federation, and I was friends with him. So I also went then. So I went away from the IFBB, which was the only possibility back then to get pro. Because the new federation didn't do well, I went to NABA.
Yep.
In Europe, the NABA was really great. UK was great. So I had my first international clients. I was doing bodybuilding shows as a promoter. I was judging world championships. I was judging Mr. Universe contests. And that was the time when I had the first major titles. 3 years in a row, I had the overall Mr. Universe, for example.
Wow.
So that was the first time international reputation came. But
see.
Still, I was stuck in that little bubble because back then it was really quite serious. When you have done another federation, you weren't allowed at the IFBB Amateur. So I was banned there, and that's where the name Boss of Outlaw comes from.
I was going to ask you that.
I was the outlaw because I was banned at the IFBB.
Right.
But I had all those good competitors in Europe, especially in Austria or in Great Britain, which were actually much better than the IFBB athletes back then. But then came the split with the MPC.
Right.
And I was able to give my athletes to the MPC. And then it went from getting coach reputation from that to that.
Yeah.
Because I had the luck that my guys immediately won the pro cards, that they went to pro shows. So then that was the first, actually 2019 was the first year I was able to work in that industry, because before there was no possibility for me.
Right. Wow. So
and that's why a lot of people think he's not doing that long. I'm not doing that long in that kind of world because I was banned from that world because of the fight between the federations before.
Right, right. So what I find interesting is that your passion for bodybuilding took you in so many different directions. So it's interesting to me because I see that when people really love bodybuilding, they do it in more than one facet. You know what I mean? So like if I look at like Paul, my best friend, for example, he's a judge, but he was also a competitor. And he's also, so like we try and do like a multitude of different things. So for you, for example, you were started as a bodybuilder, but you were also a judge, but you also promoted shows. Now, where I'm going with this is what made you decide to stop those things? Like, why did you stop judging? Why did you stop promoting? Do you still promote shows? Like, or are you done doing all those things now and just focused on coaching?
Yeah. Next to the rule, be one step better than that, what you actually do. For me, the second rule is just do one thing when you want to be really good.
I agree with that. Have you ever heard the saying? Have you ever heard the saying, if you chase two rabbits, you lose both?
Yeah, sure.
That's one of my favorite sayings because I feel like you have to be all in on something if you want to be the best. So that was your approach when you decided you wanted to be a coach. You're like, this is the thing.
When coaching went up and I saw results were coming, I was telling to the federation, I enjoyed the promoting shows. I enjoyed being a judge, but I can't anymore. I think the last crazy show I did was the Austrian Championship, and every class winner was coached by me. So the overall was full of my athletes.
Wow.
And at latest, that was the point to say, I need to leave that scene because
right.
It also doesn't look good.
I got to ask you, how do you, I mean, I think a lot of people wonder this a lot of times. Like when you see somebody like back in the day, it was Chad. He would have like 4 or 5 guys at the Olympia in the top 10, or nowadays you look at Hani, and Hani's got like, you know, Derek and Hadi. And when you're coaching, like you said, the entire overall is all your clients. How do you manage that time-wise? How do you manage that emotionally? And how do you make sure that they trust that you have all of their best interests at heart?
Actually, it's not that difficult. The first thing is, if they don't trust me until that point, we wouldn't be on that point.
Right.
That's the first thing.
Right.
The second thing is, sounds a little bit selfish, but bodybuilding is a very subjective sport. You know that. And different body types are judged. I want to win.
Right.
And I would be a fucking idiot if I wouldn't manage every one of them on their absolute maximum potential that the judges will choose on that day which body type they look like more.
Right.
If you take a look, for example, let's take the example Urs, Wesley, or at that year's Arnold, I would have had 4 athletes in a 9-athlete competitive field.
Well, I know you had Urs and Wesley. Who else?
Emanuele Ricotti and Antoine Lott. He was sick and wasn't able to compete.
Okay.
And all are total different body types.
Right.
And I need to bring everyone to the absolute best. And that is what drives me, and that is what puts me all the effort in each of them, because I don't know, and we see it every time again, which one the judges will choose.
Right.
And I just want to win.
Right. Okay, question for you then. When you're in the audience, this is probably a stupid question, but I'm wondering it anyway. When you're in the audience and you're 4 guys, well, it wasn't 4, but let's say there's 4 guys.
3, in that case 3.
Yeah, in that case 3. Who are you cheering for?
All of them.
You can't cheer for all of them. If they're all in a
can. I can. I am even possible to shout at the same time, Wesley do that, Urs do that, and Emanuele do that.
Yeah, you can do that. You can definitely direct each one. But are you rooting for one of them?
Every one of them has his great shot where he needs some extra boost. And I know that.
Right.
When is the extra boost needed?
I see. Did you ever study? So you studied medicine and physiology. Did you ever study psychology or no?
No, but my wife is clinical psychologist.
Does she help you with this kind of stuff, or is it just something
No, but actually I'm going to therapy since 25 years.
For what?
Just, I think it's part of mental health and part of evolve as a person, to not only take care about your body, but also take care about your mental aspect and your mind.
So for 25 years, so that puts you around, mid 20s.
Yes.
Or early 20s. So
20s, yeah.
So for 25 years being going to therapy, is it, and you can, we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to go any further.
I cannot talk about everything.
Is it, and I'm asking for selfish reasons as well as these kind of topics always help people watching.
Yeah.
So I dealt with a lot of social anxiety in my life that I went to therapy for. So for you, was it an anxiety? Was it a depression? Was it just prevention? Just, I want to talk to somebody, get my feelings out. Like what exactly started it?
Actually, to be direct, I'm socially incompatible.
Socially what?
I'm not compatible to the social life.
Oh,
no,
okay. Yeah.
Really, I'm really very, very, very strange.
So you're an introvert.
If you know Sheldon Cooper?
No, I don't.
From Big Bang Theory?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm like Sheldon Cooper.
So you're just
in the social life.
Yeah.
It's really hard to deal with me. And therapy made me to I would say, more normal person.
I see. Okay.
So I just need to reflect myself. I need to reflect how I behave. I need to understand why people behave different. I need to understand how I can change my mind to live in that world and all that stuff. Without that, I think I would have cracked.
When you say you're
and my wife always was behind that and said, Stefan, you can't live your life like you do.
Right.
You need to do it different. Otherwise, you will die alone.
When you say you were difficult to be around, do you mean like angry, or do you mean like you just didn't know how to talk to people, or you just had
like that? For example, when we got visit in our home, even if that's my parents, I don't say hi. I go into my office and do my stuff because I don't understand why is there a benefit to say hi?
Oh, okay. So just social.
So I had to learn that is normal to give the hand and greet.
Right.
Some of the things my athletes kind of love and hate. Yeah. I'm always direct.
No, that's great.
Straightforward.
Right.
But sometimes you are not allowed to be that. In my profession, in my job, it's good.
Right.
But I can't stand up, go into the bathroom and tell my wife, you look like shit.
When she had a bad night. You can't do that, no.
just as an extreme sample, you know what I mean?
Were you like this as a kid too?
Always.
Really? Oh my God. So basically you don't know how to lie. You don't know how to like bend the truth.
Chance.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Our hair thing is just the same.
Right.
I just said, no, I don't believe because of that and that and that.
Right. Yeah,
so
that's incredible.
It's just always like that. And also not every bodybuilder can handle that.
Right. No, that's totally true. That's actually funny that you brought that up, because I was just going to say, like you said, some bodybuilders listen, just tell me what I need to hear. But some bodybuilders, it turns them off. So have you ever worked with a client where they're like, I just can't deal with this person. He's not able to.
Yeah. Often.
Really?
Even if what sometimes hurts, and I know that it hurts, after 20 years, and you will agree, you see quite soon if there's potential or not.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm very often the first guy who tells someone you don't have potential. Don't waste your health.
That's got to be really tough for people. Like if you get a guy who's like let's say he's you know, maybe he's doing his second show and he's still 20 something and he's got all these years ahead of him. But I agree with you. You can kind of tell.
Because the point is, I'm really, really stubborn when it comes to drugs.
No, I'm not saying
Okay?
you're not.
I just wanted to explain. And
Sure.
when I see the development after a few months and see how the guy is developing and how his structure is, and you know, today is all about drugs, especially at the young guys.
Yeah.
And I want to take that, and I want to take that, and I want to take more of that. And then Stefan comes and says, there is no usage for you. There is no sense. Do bodybuilding as true passion, train, live it. But when you think that with that gear or with that stuff or with the drugs, you will get pro or you will get any chance, that's wasted money, wasted health, and you will have a wake up in 3 years and be a destroyed body. So for what?
Right.
And that's the only thing actually I really hate for my job, because I really have to tell that very, very often.
Right. Have you ever been, how many times, or have you ever been proven wrong? Like, have you ever told somebody, hey, you know, I don't think you have the potential for it, and then they proved you wrong and went on to be a pro or went on to do really well?
Not in that aspect. Not in that aspect. I was never proven wrong. But there is an aspect I was proven wrong within, I would say, 6 weeks this year.
Mm.
I'm working with William Bonac for his comeback.
Yeah.
And William, like Nathan, asked me if I could coach him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I've seen 3 of your victories at the Arnold's Live, so what an honor. Yes, I will. But we need to talk about the time frame.
Sure.
And he sent me pictures, and I thought that will gonna be a hell of a job.
Yeah.
And I said, it will hard to compete even in summer.
Right.
And he said, Stefan, you will see. It goes fast.
Yeah. He's got the genetics.
That guy changed within 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of stuff. I've really seen a lot of, but I've not seen that.
Yeah. I think some of these guys genetically are just, you know.
Holy moly, that was just incredible. It's pain.
I got to tell you, Stefan. So I was a pro for a long time, and I knew a lot of guys, but I never really, I never talked to a lot of guys in depth, especially about drugs or especially about like just what they're doing every day, their diets. After podcasting and after getting to know more of the guys and after seeing them and really paying attention, I did not realize genetically how special some guys are. Like everybody says genetics this, genetics that. Yes, Phil Heath, great genetics. Ronnie Coleman, great genetic. But like when you get down and you talk to someone and you go, you know, like Samson, and I'm only using Samson because I know his stuff intimately. He came down last year to guest post for me at my show. He was weighing something like 320 pounds and relatively lean. Like you could see all the outlines of his muscles or whatever. He's like, I'm off everything right now. I'm like, yeah, like off, like you're bridging. You're probably He goes, no, I'm off everything. I go, fuck you, you are. I'm like, I'm like, look at you. You can't find. He's like, and he found it hilarious that I didn't believe him. But come to find out after talking to Milos that he was being honest. And I was like, wow, there are really like significant levels to, you know, like, yes, I was a pro, but there's genetic levels that are like, you really don't grasp it until you find out some of these smaller details. Like, how is this guy walking around at 320? He looks just as good as when he was on. And he'd been off for like, at that time, I think he'd been off for like 6 or 7 weeks already. So it's the same thing with like Bonac, or when we talk about like a Kevin Levrone, and you talk about like these guys who just like, just something happens.
It's incredible. And the funny thing is the open public out there, they just think it's because of the high amount of drugs.
Yeah, I know.
And actually, it isn't. It isn't at all. It's just not at all. It's that special breed they are. It's incredible.
You know,
It's just crazy.
Let me ask you more of a medical question,
Yeah.
a medical question, and a more targeted question, because this comes up a
Yeah.
lot. For a long time, I thought, for a long time, in my own ignorance, I thought this was a fake term. A lot of people talk about hyper responders, and that, and I'm sure you've heard the term. And if you haven't, people mean like, yeah. So when people say it, for people watching, when people say a hyper responder, they mean somebody who's a hyper responsive to drugs, or hyper responsive to training, or hyper responsive to certain diets. Medically, do you believe in that? Is it true? Is there a chain of events that you can see? Like, where you stand on that?
I go from two different directions now. Okay. The first thing is, how good is the recovery mechanism of a human being by itself natural?
Sure.
There are big difference. You know, there are really those guys out there, they are natural, and they put on a dumbbell and they grow. You know, for sure, I would say hyper respond on the chemistry also. But actually, that's not that big game changer, because in the end, it's a big game changer, but they are good anyway. They are, because they just have that recovery mechanism, and when you target them with exercise, they just react incredibly fast. That's the first part. The second part, and that's very funny. It's not about how are you a hyper responder, because I don't think hyper responder exists. The hyper responders are those who are genetically really, really good reacting to exercise. But when that guy is meeting the guy who super can tolerate drugs, then that's the perfect combi. Oh, the balloons. I have no idea.
I don't know what that is.
Then that's the crazy combination. And there's a huge difference, because it's just logical. When the stuff you put into your body is stressing your body more, liver enzymes go up, you have kidney problems, you can imagine that you won't be benefit from that. Because it's a negative stress to your body. And there are guys out there who can take tons of drugs. With tolerating it crazily.
So can I ask you, and just so I can understand your point, I'm going to use myself as an example. So in your scenario or your explanation, that would mean that I might have been hyper responsive to training, but I feel like drugs always did me a big disservice. Like, my blood work was never really great from the very beginning. Not saying it was bad, like, oh, it's a danger zone or anything, but like, I've talked to guys, some of my friends, they're like older now. They still take not full cycles, but more than they should be. And their blood work is perfectly fine. They have no issues, and they're older. Whereas mine, even at 30, was like, there was already, you could see some issues. So you're saying the hyper responsiveness doesn't come from, oh, he took some test, look what the test did to him. You're saying it comes from more so the test isn't hurting him at all. Or whatever drug.
Yeah, and especially like you told, you are hyper responding to exercise.
Right.
That's the hyper responder for me. And then there is the hyper tolerator.
I see.
That's the point. And then comes, for me, when it comes to the hyper tolerator, for me, the best drug is the drug with the least side effects. I'm really strange. I don't know if anybody thinks the same like me. I don't think, let's just take some examples. I don't think that Boldenone is better than Masteron, or better than Primo, or better than MPP. When it comes to growing. Because they all actually want to do the same. They shift the nitrogen balance. But individually, one tolerates that better than that.
Right.
If you have problems, what the fuck is going on
I
here?
don't know. You're saying some really good things, I guess. That's what.
For example, if you have lipid problems,
Right.
don't use Masteron or don't use Primo.
I see.
If you have hematocrit problems, don't use Boulder. If you have psychological problems or prolactin-related problems with libido or that stuff, don't use any 19-nor substance.
Right.
Because if you have negative side effects, that will affect your body running on 100%. And
Right.
actually, that's what we need. We need the body working on 100% to get 100% results. When it comes to liver toxicity, we know that the liver is responsible for a lot of things in the human body. With the most famous, for example, is lowering the poison level of the body.
Mm-hmm.
But the liver, as you know, also is involved in the producing of IGF.
Okay.
Do you think that a liver with high liver enzymes and a lot of tissue which is inflamed is willing to produce the highest amount of IGFs when the liver isn't feeling well?
Right. Right.
So
See,
that's for me a very, very important thing where you need to take a closer look at the tolerate genetic a bodybuilder has.
So let me ask you a specific question about the liver, just because I want to delve into this a little bit. So I've seen blood work where somebody's liver enzymes were 100. And for people watching normal, and I don't know how this, the units of measure may be different in each country where you're from, but for us in Canada, I don't know the exact unit of measure.
It's
but
up to 50 maybe.
Yeah, 40 or 50.
It's the physiological range, yeah.
40 or 50 is like normal. So if I have a liver enzyme of say 80 or 100, I've talked to doctors that were like, oh, don't worry about it. Your liver's okay until you get to like 200, 250.
They are right. Yes.
Right. But what I'm asking you specifically is in terms of bodybuilding, if you had a client and you saw that, would your instinct be to get it back down to 50 because of your growth? Okay.
No,
so
that's a total okay range. But now an interesting further point.
Yeah.
If that athlete is natural and not enhanced, and he always have liver enzymes of 100,
right,
he's maybe massively overtraining.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay.
There comes a little bit a different view in it.
Why does it come?
Because the liver enzymes, actually, they are not specific in liver. So GOT or GPT, or as other countries are calling ASAT and ALT, they are also in muscle cells. So if you break down muscle cells, that will go into bloodstream.
Right.
But the highest amount of it is in the liver.
I see what you're
saying. So you have more muscle breakdown.
Sure. So is that where is that the first thing you look at when you, like, if you were looking at a client and he was natural and he said, these are my liver enzymes and they're at 100, is that the first place you go to? Like, oh, he might be.
If they are around 100, or if they are, at 60, 70, totally normal, totally fine. But if they are going direction 100 or above as a natural athlete, I will really take a look closer. Do we have a recovery problem? And then we need to get that recovery better with different training volume, different training intensity, more rest time, better sleep, or whatever. That's something which plays in a role. But if it's enhanced bodybuilder and it's around 100, it's totally normal. I wouldn't give a thought on it.
Why?
Because the liver has to, how is it called in English? When you want to get rid of poison, how is that called?
Expel. Flush.
That's the main function of the liver.
Right.
And because that's an exogenous substance, like you would take when you take painkiller, your liver enzymes goes up.
Okay.
Because in the liver it's metabolized.
Sure.
So that's a normal reaction when you take medication, and steroids have a quite oral steroids much more than injecting steroids, but they have an impact on that.
Okay.
So that's an impact. which is totally natural. For example, I don't know if Hostile sells liver supplements.
Not yet. We're working on it.
Actually, I'm not a big fan of it
Okay.
because I think you have to take a close look on the liver and you need to find a way of I'm pushing it and I recover it.
Right.
Because all bodybuilders tend to, oh, okay, I'm taking a supplement. All is fine. I can push all the way through.
Right.
So for me, that's why I'm not a big fan of liver supplements, because actually they are a little bit the mirror. Where do you stand?
Right.
And actually, I want to see that mirror.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. To step out a bit, we're a little bit in the weeds there. I want to step back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, from your experience and your medical background, do you think there's a way to do bodybuilding that's completely healthy, where somebody can do it from like amateur, turn pro, compete as a pro, do well, retire at 40 or 50, and walk away with zero health issues?
Total easy answer. There are people who can smoke 2 packs of Marlboro and getting 90 without lung cancer.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. So basically,
it's totally the same.
I understand what you're saying. So basically, what you're saying is using a broad term like bodybuilding is unhealthy or bodybuilding is healthy. Both are wrong because it depends on the individual.
And the genetic for the tolerance.
So
the hyper-tolerator.
How does somebody, let's say I'm 20 years old and I start bodybuilding. By 25, I'm seeing issues in my blood work. Do I think to myself at that point, this isn't for me? Or do I think maybe I'm doing the wrong things? Like, how do you know if it's gonna, I guess what I'm asking is there a way to know if it's unhealthy for you?
Yes.
How?
How hard you react on the amount of stuff you take. You know, for example, just an example, you are taking 250 milligrams of testosterone a week.
Right.
Your estrogen is skyrocketing.
Right.
You are getting acne as fucking hell.
Right.
You are getting dead gynecomastia.
Yeah.
Your blood lipids are shit. Your liver enzymes go up.
Yeah.
Then
250 milligrams.
And that people exist.
Do they really? It's not for
you. You know,
Yeah.
that's just not for you.
But that's not the scary one, because that one is obvious, right? Like somebody should know. I mean, they don't. They probably just go right through it. But at least somebody can know, okay, this small amount of drugs really fucked me up. But the thing is, the scary one is the one where it's not all of those things. It's maybe one of those things. And they're like, oh, I can keep going, right?
Oh, I hate that fuck. I won't show my hands anymore. I have no idea what my fucking Zoom is doing here, but it's ridiculous.
I wish I could make it happen. Nothing's happening for me. I can't. Okay.
There are 2 crucial things which will lead to the death of a bodybuilder.
Okay.
Because actually, when we come from, we go from the death and go then back in the time, okay?
Okay.
So the death actually will be a stroke or a heart attack.
Okay.
In the most times, you know, that most people die because of that. So what is leading to that? A stroke or a heart attack is caused by a blood clot in a vessel. So we all have vessels in our brain and in our heart which pump the blood and bring oxygen to the cells. Mm-hmm. If there's a clot in it, no oxygen comes there, and if it's a major vessel, we are dead. Mm-hmm. It's quite easy. For example, I was working three months in the pathology, and I was doing the abduction of 6 dead people per day.
Wow.
And I would say 70% died because of a clot in the brain or in the heart. So heart attack or stroke. What leads to heart attacks and strokes? The first and most important thing is high blood pressure. Vessels are elastic,
Mhm.
okay? When you push something through an elastic thing all the time, the elastic thing won't be elastic anymore,
Right.
and it will get stiffer. Blood pressure makes the quality of the vessels worse, especially long time. When you have high blood pressure for 1-2 years, you are not feeling any effect. You
Right.
know, you're just, that's a silent killer.
Right. Right.
But through all those years, your vessels will get serious problems.
Mhm.
The second factor, which leads to a blood clot, is lipids. So actually, when we do a shortcuts, we all know we have good and bad cholesterol. LDL is the good cholesterol, HDL is the bad cholesterol.
I thought it was the other way. I thought it was the other way around.
Did I mismatch? HDL good, LDL bad?
When they say it, that's the way they say it when they say it. I've
Yeah,
always known.
LDL bad, HDL good.
Yeah.
Maybe I mismatched in the first time. So
Yeah.
LDL bad, HDL good.
Yeah.
Newest scientific studies, and I know it because I have a genetically disease in that part, the HDL, because years ago we always said the HDL need to be high and that will save you.
Right.
It doesn't save you.
Okay.
It's really more important that the LDL is low because that's damaging everything. So we need to take care that the LDL cholesterol is low.
Can I ask?
And a lot of our drugs higher the LDL. It's not the nutrition. You can influence 10%, 5% with the nutrition.
Yeah.
But that's genetically and poison introduced.
Right.
So bodybuilders really need to take care that the LDL cholesterol level is low, because if it's high, it's leading to arteriosclerosis, which making the vessel smaller.
Right.
And when the vessel is smaller, the blood clot will come
and clog it. Yeah.
And you will die.
Right. So I want to add, we're getting back into the weeds again, but I think it's okay. So LDL is made up of two different particles of cholesterol. Isn't that correct? So there's a large particle and small particle. And what I've learned along the way is that large particle cholesterol is not dangerous. It's a small particle cholesterol. Is that true or is that not true?
It's kind of that there is a part which you can measure in your blood, and now in Europe at least they start to really get that into objectivate how much risk you have of a heart attack.
Sure.
It's called lipoprotein small a, LPA.
Yep.
If that is small, you have, if the number is small, it depends on the measurement, below 50 or below 75, you have good chances of never getting any problem with that. But if that is small, you probably also have low LDL cholesterol anyway. But if that is high, you really need to take care to bring your LDL down. For example, the range is 75, and genetically I have 240.
Really?
So for me, it's super important to get my LDL levels down to, for example, if you see the amounts, they say when it's below 110, it's fine. But because I have that high LPA, my LDL should go down to 50.
I got you.
It must be even lower. So that's something you need to consider.
So what do you take to keep it low?
Statins.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, because there's, in medicine, there are different steps of therapy. And like in bodybuilding also, you need to go with the first one and getting most out of it. If that doesn't work anymore, you take the next one. But the best way of dealing with it would be a PSCK9 inhibitor.
That's right. I've heard of that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That stuff really works crazy good. It's super expensive, but if you have lipid problems and if you are able to get hands on it, and if you are a bodybuilder, go out and use it. Get your lipids down. Get your blood pressure down because that will save your life because it's the silent killer, you know?
Right, right,
You
right.
have high lipids, high LDL, you don't feel it. You still feel well.
Yeah,
If you have
yeah.
high blood pressure, you
Yeah, you
still
can't.
feel well. You don't take care of it. But in 10 years, you're fucking dead.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
So actually, that are the most important things.
Okay, let's back up a bit so we're not in the weeds again. Your client list of top pros, Wesley, Urs, Nathan, William Bonac. Who am I missing?
James Hollingshead.
James Hollingshead now is working with you. That's how exciting is that one?
Super exciting because I love James as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great guy. That one,
And there's a new secret one.
Who?
You are the first I'm telling. Friends know it, but now it's the first official.
The first. So this is an exclusive for
Yes.
Who is it? Tell me.
Mo Foda.
No way. I love Mo.
No way.
That's so great. Mo was working with Hani, was he not?
Mm-hmm.
So he's moved over. Mo has an awesome physique. I'm like, I don't know why this is somebody I've been watching for like the last 3 years. And I'm like, this guy is going to be the guy. How old is Mo?
That's really a question I never ask.
Why? You need to know, don't you?
You think? Why is it important?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. You're the coach, but I guess for me, if I was a coach, I'd be like, well, you know, a 25-year-old is going to react differently to things than a 35-year-old. No?
Yeah, but that you see from the optic that he's not 35.
Yeah.
But if he's 24 or 27, I don't care.
No, that doesn't make a difference. Yeah. I want to show people real quick before we go to Mo. If you're not following Boss or Stefan, this is Stefan's Instagram. If you're listening on audio, it's Boss of Outlaw, all one word. Do you ever post anything educational, or is it more just like client stuff and things like that?
That's also the point with the rabbits. You talk.
Social media is its own thing. Yeah. I got you. I think, you know what though, I got to tell you from my perspective, anyways. I don't know how other people feel about this, but I think that's something people like about you. When I talk to people so far, like ever since I met you, I'm asking around, hey, what do you think of Stefan, this and that. When I talk to people about you, the one thing they all say is he's very behind the scenes. Like it doesn't feel like you're in front of your clients. You're very behind them and letting them, like, pushing them forward, and you're not pushing yourself out there. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I can't do it differently. I think it has something to do with my autism and not liking to be in front of something because that's a bad feeling for me.
I see. So this is for those people who don't know who Mo Foda is and why I got so excited. This is Mo's page. If you're listening on audio, it's moh.fooda, his Instagram. And I think this is a phenomenal physique.
Yeah.
So
he has absolutely every tool, I think.
Yeah, there's really nothing missing from this physique. Like it's like when you break down this physique, Stefan, what do you see? You see any weak points or?
Yeah, the back a little bit.
I'm looking for a back shot. That's the only part I'm missing here.
The back is okay, but when a guy is promising something from the front, he needs to keep that promise also from the back.
I like the way you put that. He's promising everything from the front. Like that's a crazy front double. And his back, the thing is, his back looks good from the front. Like it frames his body well and everything. Like, let's see the back. Hamstrings could be thicker. I mean,
a little bit.
I don't
think
it's
okay.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's good. It's just not as the wow factor compared to the front is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Posing needs to get better.
Yeah.
But he absolutely looks crazy.
Yeah. When I saw him in Romania, I was like, wow, this is a very impressive physique.
It was.
Yeah. Well, good for him, man. I'm glad you guys hopefully we'll make a really good team and he'll do something special. So what is before you go, can you reveal any secrets about William and what show he might be doing?
He also he already revealed it.
Oh, did he?
The first show, yeah.
What did I
The
miss?
first
What's he
show will
doing?
be the Emperor in Spain.
Ah, okay, okay. So he's going to be, Jesus, the year's going to be crazy for you. Some guys aren't going to make it to the Olympia this year.
I really, Europe shows this
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
carnage.
Yeah.
Absolutely carnage.
I love that.
Absolutely carnage. We have Nathan, William, Mo.
Well, Regan's doing something.
Regan,
Hunter.
Griso.
Yeah.
No, I just talk about European shows.
Yeah, I know. Hunter's doing Italy, I think.
Hunter is getting to Italy.
I think so, yeah.
Hunter is, so we have that. Griso, Rubiel.
Rubiel, yeah. Yeah.
Perus, Tabani.
Yeah. The European shows are no joke anymore, man. They're a big deal.
How that are all possible top 10 Olympians.
Yeah, I agree. What's Mo doing? Are you building up Mo for a little while before he gets on stage, or you have him do something this year?
No, that season also.
What? Oh, he's doing this year.
Yeah. All that European shows,
all the
Dubai,
European shows.
all that stuff.
Good for him.
And
don't forget Andrew.
Andrew.
Andrew's in there too.
those European guys, I really like because like Roman.
Right. Roman's another one. Yeah.
But still he is in recovery because of the hips. But for Roman, getting into that top 5 at that shows, or for Tim Budesheim, getting into that top 5,
yeah,
it's nearly impossible. Even a guy who I really like because he's such a nice person is Andrea Presti. I don't know if you Andrea, he won all every year now Portugal, but it's gonna be a hard job for him.
Yeah, Andrea needs to get those legs up to match the upper body.
Yeah, but still, if he gets that legs up, I think the guys we talked about they are just from the flow, the overall muscularity, the symmetry. That's just another level.
I know, but you don't want to make another bet with me because I'll make you grow your beard out for 12 months. I think Andrea, if he could get his legs up which is a big task when you're not genetically blessed with them, he's got a really wide structure. Like if he could develop those legs, he would be.
When he stands in front of you, his shoulder width is.
Yeah. And the pictures of Tim Budesheim lately, I just want to show this really quickly for people who don't know what we're talking about. Tim Budesheim has been posting some recent update photos, if I can find them here somewhere.
You mean the mirror pictures?
Is that what I'm thinking of? This one.
Yeah, no. It's the mirror. It's the mirror picture, Is
the mirror fucking with me?
Yeah, you know that.
The mirror's fucking with me. Is that what it is?
It's a good picture.
He looks like a freak there, though.
It's a good picture, and it's his poses. I really liked him because he's a very, 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 very nice and kind person, and he's really a hard worker. But when he has closed poses, he's really good.
Yeah.
But as soon as he's open up, he gets problems.
Yeah. Is there anybody in Europe that helps guys with posing or no that you can recommend? Because I think some of these guys are doing themselves a little bit of a disservice by not figuring that portion of it out.
Also a speciality of open class bodybuilders. Most of them can't pose because they don't do any mobility work.
Yeah, they have trouble with that for sure. Yeah.
So, for example, when it comes to a back or front double biceps, when you can't rotate the shoulders, you are fucked. And some of them has that intense chest and front delt stiffness. They just can't get into the pose. So to be a good poser, you have also to have the probably best mobility you could have.
Right.
So some of them probably could be posing well, but their mobility doesn't let them.
Right. I have to get into this topic selfishly before you leave because I need to know. When did you get into? Okay, so I always wanted to race cars, but I also came from a poor family, like growing, not poor, we got by, but whatever. My parents didn't have the money to put me in any cool sports like
Yeah.
hockey or kart racing.
Yeah,
or
I'm
whatever.
also not from a poor family, but not a
Yeah.
racing car family.
Yeah, exactly. So how old were you when you got into kart racing, and where did you get the money from to get into kart racing?
No, the point was I was into car racing always, but I started to kart race really with 33.
Really? So
And I had the money because I earned it.
yeah. No, but where did you so you just got it from working and stuff and you put your money into
Yeah.
So you did at what level did you reach in the kart racing?
Central Europe. But in kart racing, there are two different kinds. We have the two-stroke engine,
Yeah.
the shifters.
Yeah.
They are super aggressive and they have races 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's where the Formula One drivers come from.
I see.
And then we have four-stroke engines,
Yeah.
which you can drive 24 hours. That's not that aggressive, but still they go 110, 120 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
But it's a different kind of sport. So I would say the two-stroke is professional and the four-stroke is always amateur level. So I did national and Central Europe, national level, amateur level endurance racing.
Let me see what comes up here. I just want to see if you can point me in the right direction of what I'm looking for. Is this what you did?
Yeah, exactly.
For 24 hours, you drove this thing?
Yes.
Are you fucking serious?
You do it in a team with four people with driver change.
How often do you change drivers? Like every few hours?
It depends. 1 to 2 hours.
This thing goes 120 kilometers an hour?
Yes. It depends on which which of the Übersetzung is in German. You can go it faster or faster accelerating, and you change that from track to track. But yes, I would say it's the most intense sport when it comes to endurance, but also power. You could imagine. I swear that would be a nice bet. I know that no pro bodybuilder is able to drive longer than 10 minutes.
I agree with you. I've done
because the arms will blow up totally.
Yeah. I've done just track racing with like my car, like went to a track and just drove like a few laps. I'm like, it's tiring. It's actually it's a workout. So
but when it comes to racing karts, the grip is that intense.
I can imagine
that your ribs break just going through the corner.
Right.
I had broken ribs every season. Even when I wear a carbon rib protector.
What's breaking your ribs? The force?
Yes.
So the G
just the G force and going a little bit over the curb, which gives you a light knock, and that's that intense. For example, the pressure on the neck, the force is that intense that the racing director often had to pull out people from racing because they wasn't able to hold their heads anymore.
Holy fuck.
Formula One drivers drive the whole winter season in the kart because that's the best training for the Formula One racing.
Right.
It's if you have the possibility
to try it,
drive a racing kart.
Yeah.
You have never done something before. Never.
I'm gonna
forget every supercar. Forget every supercar.
Yeah.
But then that it is really funny, drive with a 125 ccm two-takt kart.
Okay.
And tell me afterwards, after how many meters you spent.
Let me ask you this. Is there somewhere where you can go and rent these karts to drive them?
Here in Europe we have, yes. I'm sure you have probably also in.
Yeah, we probably.
You are from Detroit, Motor City. You must have something.
I'm from Canada, but we're right.
You moved to Detroit. Yeah.
No, we're right across from Detroit. Yeah, we're right across.
So over the border.
Yeah, I'm on the border of Canada, like Canada and America. And we're right across from Detroit. So.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is what I got to do this now. Now this is going to be on my bucket list. So how long did you do that for?
5 years.
Why'd you stop? You just couldn't do it anymore?
Health.
Oh, you were
Health.
probably in pain. You didn't know.
No, it's the back got you know you have no suspension, and you really, if there are little things, little holes on the track or something like that, that's such hard impacts.
Right.
And I have those 3 herniated discs in my spine.
Right.
And at the last season, I wasn't able to get out of the cart by my own anymore. So they had to
Oh,
carry me out because it wasn't not just the pain, it was also that my legs didn't move anymore. They were just
Jesus.
done. So no
So
chance of,
crazy.
I would really, that's also something I miss because I would really love just, sometimes go to the racetrack for 1 or 2 hours, shut the world off
Right.
and just do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
With the race car, it's okay,
Yeah.
but it's just not the same. The first thing is it's much more expensive, and if you damage it, you are fucked.
Yeah.
And if you damage the card, yeah, you damage the card and 10,000 euros are gone, something like that. But
Right.
it's nothing which takes you into serious problems.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Well, you know what, Stefan, I've had you on for an hour and a half now, and we didn't even cover anything about diet or training. So I'm going to let you go because I don't want to keep you here forever, but I want to ask if you'll come back,
Yeah,
some week, some week,
every time you want.
just because I want to get into when you came on, I actually had planned to get into off-season diet, contest prep, peaking, those kind of things, and we didn't really get into those X's and O's. So if you'd like, I could have you back on, or if you are willing to, have you back on, and we can get into
Always,
some of that
it's a
stuff.
pleasure. I really, that sounds strange, but for me, that's like holiday
Yeah.
because I put the phone away
Right. Right.
so I can talk about the things I really like to do.
Yeah.
So it's like holiday.
Okay. Well, we'll line it up, and I'll have you back on, and we can get into some of the weeds on X's and O's with diet and training. But before you go, is there anything you want to say, a sponsor you want to thank, anything before you go?
I want to thank all the people out there who trust me.
Nice.
And I want everybody to see how beautiful the sport of bodybuilding can be.
Sure.
It's just for me, it's a perfect combination of everything. It's a combination of art. It's a combination of willpower. It's a combination of physical activity. And most of the people out there doing really their best. So the fans out there should appreciate that and support that. And, I really have to catch up the things Samson said.
What's that?
At the video concerning social media and in which wrong direction everything can go.
Right.
So for me, it's not such a big problem because I don't consume social media.
Right.
Because actually, most of the time I give a shit on social media.
Right.
But there are a lot of great people out there and the great bodybuilders out there who really are interested in giving the people the best show possible.
Sure.
And they reserve cheerings from the audience. Critique is fine, but the way sometimes critique is put out is just disrespectful.
Right.
And I think that's something people should think about it.
Yeah.
They are watching things which is actually their hobby, so they should be positive.
Right.
And if you're not positive, just leave the door.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I never thought about that. You're watching something because you're interested in it and it's entertaining to you, but you're being very negative at the same time, which doesn't make sense. I didn't think of it that way. It's funny you said that because we actually just covered this on the previous podcast that it seems the direction of the commentary from people watching is getting worse.
Yeah.
And becoming more there's more vitriol and just hate versus just more excitement. And you would think, like you just said, you would think with more access to people with YouTube channels and Instagram and like them putting out all this information and you would think it would make people happier, but it's actually doing the opposite. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's a very good point you made. I didn't even consider that.
And I talked with I think Samson also was there, and James was there, and we are all a little bit older, or I'm older. They not that much, but you will also be able to tell that. For sure, now we can make more business, and everything has also an advantage.
Right.
Business is bigger than all the time. But when it comes really to bodybuilding, and how much passion and how much positivity was there, it was better 15 years ago.
I said this on a previous podcast as well, Stefan. I want to see what your opinion about it is. My thought on a lot of this is that the commentary about bodybuilding comes from the top down. So the people that are in the media of bodybuilding, say my podcast, other podcasts, Flex Online, whatever media you want to go to. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I'd like to know your thoughts. I believe that the commentary from the person putting out the media drives the sentiment below the media. So like, if there's a negative video made, then there's going to be negative commentary that follows it. And so my thought process on it was, 20 years ago when there was no social media and it was just magazines, the magazines always put the bodybuilders in the brightest light.
Yeah.
This is how they look.
Right.
This is what their diet is. This is what they're training. This is how good they look. They put them in the best photo shoots with the best lighting and the best everything. And so I feel like there was a more positive feeling towards the bodybuilders. And now that you would think that with more access becomes more love, but it's almost like with more access is becoming less. But I think it's because some of the media that's portraying these guys is portraying them in a negative light. So I don't know if you've considered that at all.
Yeah, I think that plays a role, because a lot of that what people talk or say is just repeating that what someone else of the media was telling and saying.
Right. So it's okay. I mean, look, I think like you said, though, for everybody, I think it's an overall positive. I think, like we always talk about, there's extremes, right? So you have an extreme 10% that are super fans. You have an extreme 10% that may be negative. I think the majority of people are very appreciative and supportive. And I think for bodybuilders, like you said, there's never been as many ways to make money.
No, exactly.
As there is now.
We need to appreciate that, definitely. Yeah. It was never that big.
Yeah. Guys have a lot more choices. And even like, from being from Europe, it was very hard to get contracts. It was very hard to
impossible
make money. Like even me, I'm from North America, but just being from Canada, if you weren't from the US, it was very hard. Like I remember talking to companies and said, "Oh, you're from Canada? Sorry, we can't do it. We need
really?
Yeah, because they thought getting a passport and flying me from Canada was going to be this crazy expense, and like it was a hassle. So nobody wanted to sign Canadians. And even if you go back to, go ahead. Sorry. No.
Did you have a publishing contract?
Not until I got better. Like, luckily, Muscle Tech was a Canadian company.
Really?
They're actually in Mississauga or Toronto. Yeah. So when I first turned pro, the very first contract I got was with Muscle Tech. So after being with Muscle Tech for a couple of years, then I got publishing contracts with like Muscle Mag. Then I got one with Flex magazine. Then MD.
So you were Flex. That was what I wanted to ask. Were you an MD or Flex athlete?
I was happier as a Weider athlete, but I did have a publishing contract with MD at one point for like a year or two. But I was when I got my Weider contract, I was very proud because, being a Weider athlete was like a big deal, right? So it's like, I was like, I made it.
But that was something I always wanted to know. So you had that contract with Weider.
Yes.
What was your part of the job? Did you have to do any shootings, any number of shootings, or was it just coverage of you at the shows?
No,
What was your part of the contract?
Well, look, I'm pretty sure that depending on on your status as a bodybuilder, the contracts changed. For me personally, you're obviously an exclusive to that brand, so I couldn't do interviews or photo shoots with MD, or Muscle Mag or any of those other magazines. So that was number one. Number two was I would have to do a photo shoot after every show. So if I did 3 shows, yeah, I did and if they want
every show shooting.
Yeah, it's usually in the contract, usually 3 or 4 photo shoots per year. So if they wanted you in the off season, you'd show up in the off season, they do a shoot, whatever. So whatever they wanted for the magazine. And then the last part of it was I had a monthly column, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, I really enjoyed that because they let me write my own. So I wrote my own column, whereas other guys would have like a ghostwriter do it, and then they would just sign their name. So I actually enjoyed writing my own column every month. So that was like part of my deal. But yeah, it was great. It was great. No, those things don't exist anymore, but they just make money in other ways. So maybe there isn't more money because, like, look, I don't know how much money these guys are making on YouTube, but my Weider contract was like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So,
which is quite okay.
Well, I mean, when you add it to a supplement contract, that's also $4,000 or $5,000 a month. Now you're making $100,000 a year, which is not crazy money now, but back then $100,000 a year went a lot further. So
yeah, I think at least in Europe, I don't know how it is in the States, but the people make the most of the money, not with actually the YouTube video. For sure, the big ones also get a lot of the YouTube money, but the real money lies in the promotional codes.
Yeah, the commission code, but that's only if you're super popular. You know what I mean? Like that's I don't know, because if you're Urs,
it really depends. There are some influencers out there who have, I would say, just 30 or 40,000 followers.
Yeah,
which is nothing.
Right.
And some of them, I don't know how they do it, but they have a connection with their community.
Yeah.
And they earn money you wouldn't believe.
Really?
It's crazy. I think that's really the new way of making money. And for sure, it's a little bit connected to the followers, but it's mostly connected how much trust you can build up with your community.
For sure. Yeah, that's
and
for sure.
That's something at least I can't understand.
Yeah.
But I think that's how the most money in the industry is made right now, at least in Europe.
Maybe in Europe. I think here in North America, the biggest money is still in contracts.
So the fixed salary.
Supplement contracts, yeah. Like these guys.
And here in Europe, the fixed salary is total shit. Always.
Really? That's why. But I wonder why the commission, because look, we have athletes. So I know what these guys are. I know what their sales are every month.
Yeah.
They're making more on their salary than they are on their commission. Like significantly more.
And here is totally opposite.
Really? That's so strange.
Yes. But we are in Europe. Actually, I don't know how it's in the States. We actually have, I would say, 0 supplement stores.
Yeah.
So actually, it's just online selling. So it's always connected to the brand.
Sure. They're getting it directly from the website all the time.
Is there still shop selling in the States?
Yeah,
people go to supplement stores?
Yeah, quite a few. Yeah. I mean, GNC Vitamin Shop are the biggest ones. There's like hundreds of stores across the US. And then you have a multitude of smaller stores, or I don't want to say smaller stores, but obviously not big box.
For example, I would say Vienna has 2 million people.
Yeah.
I think we have 4 or 5 supplement shops, or 6. Nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
And so the consumer behaving, I would say, seems to be totally different.
Yeah, because here you have not only the supplement stores, but you guys have Amazon there, right? Obviously.
Yeah, but I would say in the supplement industry, they don't play
use
very
Amazon?
big role.
See, because that's the thing here. A lot of brands are on Amazon, or if they're like I said, Vitamin Shop, GNC, they all have their online presence. So the consumer doesn't directly have to go to the website. They can get supplements in a multitude of places. Maybe that's why the commission structures,
different, because it wouldn't work like that than here, because we have one direct way.
Right. Which is funny though, because, and I don't know if I'm divulging too much information, but I heard Yamamoto doesn't even have commission structures on their contracts.
I have no idea, but I think they might closing down in the bodybuilding totally.
Oh, really?
It's strange. They released most of their athletes the contracts.
Yeah, I know, because I think Nathan came over to ESN,
Nathan,
correct?
yeah. So a lot, Flex, they even let Flex go
Let's go, yeah.
to Brazil.
Right.
And the biggest problem was with Yamamoto. They even had no chance to deliver the athletes their products for about 6 months.
Really?
The people weren't able to buy their products for about 5 or 6 months. The online shop was closed.
Jeez.
So there are rumors that they want to focus more on the normal people and not in bodybuilding anymore. But on the other hand, they are sponsoring all Italy shows this year, which is so actually I really have no idea which direction they go or what they what they're gonna do. So that it's quite of strange. The second brand in Italy, Tsunami. I don't know if you've heard about
I've heard
them.
of it. Yeah.
They are much more into bodybuilding right now. And I think most of the Italian Yamamoto athletes like Andrea Presti, they are now all at Tsunami.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. I find that when companies do that, they start to fail pretty miserably. Like every time throughout my time in bodybuilding, I've seen a multiple of companies that were big bodybuilding companies decide, you know what? We want to be more mainstream. We're not going to focus on bodybuilding anymore, and then try and go public. And it never works. They all come back. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but there's big companies that were like,
we both know
the
last 20 years.
So they go and then they're like, oh shit, these normal people, there's more numbers, but they don't drink protein every day. They don't drink pre-workout every day. They all come back. And
that's a speciality on German.
Why?
The normal people drink protein.
Oh, they do.
Yeah. That's actually
a mainstream thing.
That's actually really getting a mainstream thing. That's really getting a mainstream thing. For me, it's surprising because when I told before, my parents weren't really happy with my decisions.
Right.
And when I was walking home with a protein tube, they were looking at me with, do you take poison or what? My father is now 70. Okay, he's 70.
Yeah.
2 months ago, he asked me if I could send him some protein.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. My mom did the same. My mom did the same thing.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, my mom did the same thing when I first started bodybuilding. I brought home my first tub of, I think it was ProLab something. Fuck, I don't remember the name of the protein. I brought it home. My mom's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's like food." I try to explain to her what it is. I'm like, "It's like food." I'm like, instead of eating a steak, I drink. And she's like, "Is it medicine?" I'm like, "It's not fucking medicine." I'm
like, and she was talking to her best friend. My son is taking drugs.
Yeah, 100%. She's like, "It's steroids. For sure, it's steroids." Yeah. No, but no, I think protein's getting more popular mainstream here, but it's usually in the like the RTD
ready to drink.
Yeah, like those, like I know Labrada does, all over the country and stuff. I think, but I don't see a lot of mainstream people buying like tubs of protein powder. So maybe that's why. But anyway, we got off a little bit. I apologize.
Totally.
No, I've had a great time talking to you. Thank you so much, and sorry for keeping you for so long.
It was a pleasure.
I will I'll give you a shout, and we'll do it again sometime soon and get more into the info for people.
I gonna see you in New York?
Maybe. Are you still gonna have your hair? Are you still gonna have your hair by then?
Yeah.
When
14 the cut-off date is 28th of May.
Well, okay. If I show up to New York, we'll make a deal. I get to shave your head.
You mean earlier?
Yeah, you can shave it earlier.
10 days before.
Yeah, but I get to do it.
Yeah, totally fine.
All right, man. Stefan, thank you so much, brother. I will.
Before we end.
Yeah.
Your top 3 in New York.
Oh, we're playing this game.
We need to end it with a
but
cool
we don't know.
thing.
But we don't know. But we don't know who's doing it for sure. Is Quint doing it?
Yeah, but just I have no idea. You just give your tip.
Okay, well, Nick's gonna win.
Uh-huh.
If Quint does it, Quint will be second. And do you have anybody in the show?
Yes, Martin.
Martin, that's right. Fuck. I think Martin can beat Tonio, maybe. And then there's Stu, and fucking Stu's already shredded, so who knows how the fuck he's probably going to be bigger too.
I think
Okay,
Martin beats.
Okay, you go first.
Nick, Martin, Quincy.
Nick, Martin, Quinton. I'm going to go Nick, Quinton, Martin. So what do we? So whoever's closer, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, something like that.
Why don't we pick one guy like we do with James, and we'll say where he play over under. We'll do over under. So let's take your guy. We'll take Martin.
2.
You think 2?
I wish for 1.
So
but that would be very aggressive, you know.
So if I say
actually I think I could beat he could beat Nick.
No, he's not ready for that yet. I think I'll tell you.
I need to be, I need to be.
Stefan, I'll tell you this. There could come a day where I could see that because Martin's still young. Martin's still young, and I feel like he's got incredible shape. Like he really, really. I was shocked when he walked out in Detroit. Like the way his shoulders come off his body, and like the way everything's super round with a small waist, and like I could see him being a top Olympian one day. I don't think he's ready to beat Nick yet.
Okay, I say 2.
Okay, so if he's 3 or lower, I win.
Okay.
So he has to be 1 or 2 for you to win.
Yeah, which is totally crazy.
Okay,
self-confidence.
Okay, so the bet is if he's not first or second, you have to grow your hair out for an additional 3 months.
Nothing. No, nothing with hair.
All right, we'll figure out a bet. We'll figure out what we're gonna do. We'll figure out.
Nothing with hair.
Your wife's gonna fucking kill me. All right. All right. Well, hopefully I can get to New York and I'll see you there, man.
Yeah, would be cool. Yeah.
Okay, Stefan.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, brother.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.